Welcome to the Tailgate Debate. You're here with Anthony, Zach, Jamie, and Earl.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Welcome back. All right, so we're going to get in quick this time because we already reviewed preseason 0 in the last episode. I don't have any booth reviews from the last episode, and nobody really said anything too stupid that I caught, so who knows what that means. Anyway, what we're going to do tonight is go through what we think are the top 10 games of week 1. I'll go through and give you guys the picks, and the ones that we all pick the same, we might spend a little bit of time on, but what we really want to focus on are some of the ones that we have different teams, and then obviously some of the marquee matchups. So everybody knows that the big game of this weekend is Notre Dame, Ohio State. That's why we rolled in tonight's show with the Notre Dame fight song. Obviously tonight is going to be Tennessee kicking off their season, so we'll be finishing up with a Rocky Top tonight. And just kind of excited to get underway with all the games. But let's go through the picks. So first one that we had, Nebraska Northwestern, that was in week 0. And we did a fantastic job all guessing that one incorrectly. So we are all 0 for 1 heading into week 1. Much like Nebraska.
Scott Frost.
Yeah, we're all doing as well as Scott Frost right now. Game 2, Ball State versus Tennessee. Tennessee's a heavy favorite. We all have Tennessee. I'm looking forward to watching it, but shouldn't be very exciting, I hope. The next game, West Virginia versus Pitt. We'll come back to this one. This is a game where we were split. Zach and I had Pitt. Earl and I had Pitt. Zach and Jamie, you both had West Virginia. So we'll circle back on that. Penn State. Actually, let's talk about it now before we go through the other picks. What are you guys thinking about that Pitt West Virginia game? Earl, what do you think? Why do you got Pitt?
I think Pitt's a stronger team. I didn't have much faith in West Virginia, and they didn't do well last year. I don't think they're going to be that much better this year. Pitt has lost a few people, but I think they're still strong enough to take over West Virginia.
All right, I actually sort of agreed with that. I expect Pitt to make a little bit of noise in the ACC. I know they lost some pieces, but I think that they were a pretty decent team last year. And I haven't been impressed with West Virginia since the coaching turnover. I guess Holmgren went to Houston a couple years ago. I haven't followed the team that closely, but I thought the team took a step back since then. I've just not been very impressed with what West Virginia has done. And I do expect Pitt to be a competitive team this year. Maybe not in the ACC title or anything like that, like they did last year. But I still think a decent enough team that they beat West Virginia on their opening night. That's where I was at with it. So Zach and Jamie, you guys have West Virginia. What are your thoughts, Zach?
I think Pitt. I think their record made them look a little bit better than they were last year. And they lost, obviously, a quarterback to the draft. A couple guys on defense. I think they're going to have a fairly substantial drop-off. I think West Virginia is going to get them.
All right. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I picked West Virginia, and it's more to do with I just think Pittsburgh's super overrated, and I think they're going to take a pretty big step back this year just because they lost a good bit of talent, and the transfers that they brought in I don't think are difference makers. And then I do like that West Virginia brought in JT Daniels. I know he struggled everywhere he's been. Didn't really find a place at USC. He got beat out in Georgia, and now he's at West Virginia. But I think he kind of gets it going, and I think he's a better quarterback than Pittsburgh. They have Keaton Slovis, who's also from USC. I just think West Virginia is gonna have the upset in week 1.
What do you guys think of the score? You think it's a high-scoring affair, pretty low-scoring? What are you guys thinking? I mean, I know we haven't seen the teams. We don't know what's what at this point, but what's your guess? What's your feel for the game?
I think kind of low-scoring and ugly.
What do you think, Jim?
Surprised if it's like – I think it's going to be a close game, and if the scores are in the 20s, like 27, 24, 28, 24 type game.
Okay. Earl, any thoughts on the score?
No, I'm thinking about the same thing. I'm going to go with like 31-24.
Yeah, I was along those lines too. I'm thinking the winner hits the 30 mark. But I think we're all about the same page with probably what the score is going to look like. A fair amount of scoring. All right. So that's it for Pitt, West Virginia. Next is a Thursday night game, Penn State, another Thursday night game, Penn State and Purdue. Purdue actually was able to score some points last year. I think Penn State is getting a little bit of hype coming into this season. So Penn State, we all have. Nothing really to elaborate there. I do think they should take care of it. Well, we all think they should take care of business. Next is Buffalo and Maryland. Obviously, that's a walk for Maryland. That the first 3 games, Maryland always picks people they can bully around a little bit. So that's the first of 3 for them.
Go Terps.
What's that? Go Terps. Yeah, go Terps. Go Terps all over Buffalo.
Yeah.
Next is
not everybody schedules a powerhouse week 1 like Ball State, like Tennessee. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, you guys want to look ahead to week 2 because we play Pitt and I think Maryland plays. Who do they? They got Buffalo this week. Were they Buffalo State next week? And then Buffalo Southern the week after. All right. Anyway, let's keep going. Next is Oregon, Georgia, and that should be a nice game on Saturday to tune into. We all have Georgia. Nobody has any faith in Oregon, huh? Nobody's expecting a whole lot from those guys.
I think Georgia, obviously just coming off the national title, they're in the reload stage, and Oregon always struggles with teams that are more physical than they are. So I expect Georgia to dominate the lines and just, I don't know if it'll get ugly, but I think they'll be in control the whole game.
I actually agree. I agree with that exactly.
It's a 17.5 point spread, so I think Georgia covers it easy.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. I think Georgia's obviously the more physical team. I didn't know the spread was 17.5. I would take Oregon to cover that spread.
I think Oregon's on a team on the decline. I sort of expected that to happen after Chip Kelly left, and now they've gone through another coaching turnover. I don't expect a whole lot from Oregon. 17 points is a lot of points. I thought it was a lot of points in the Notre Dame game. I think it's a lot of points in the Oregon game.
Well, 17 is especially a lot when you consider Georgia's offense. I mean,
Yeah.
But their defense carries the team. They still have Bennett at quarterback, so he's not making it rain out there.
That's the man.
I mean, I think Georgia can still hold them to 10 points. I mean, they might not score a touchdown.
I mean, I guess I don't know. Everybody's pretty high on Georgia, and there's no reason not to be. They're coming off the national title. They're clearly building a program, right? They didn't just build a team for a season. They're building a program there. I get all that. Georgia deserves the benefit of the doubt, but 17 points is huge. I think that's a little bit disrespectful, actually.
Yeah, I could see Georgia holding Oregon to 10, 14 points, but I just don't think Georgia's going to score a ton either. So I think they could completely dominate the game and still not win by 17 points or more.
Yeah. We'll see. It should be a fun game. 2 very different styles, that's for sure. At least in the recent history, they're very different styles. We'll see what the new Oregon coach has these guys looking like. Next is Utah, Florida, and so I picked Florida, and you all picked Utah. So I think I would prefer to go last. What are you guys thinking on Utah?
So I picked Utah just because I feel like they're more established and they're coming off of more success from the previous season. They went toe-to-toe with Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year. They have a pretty good returning quarterback. And Florida, they're just, they have a new coach. They still have talent, but they're kind of in a transition phase where they're, in a rebuild mode. So I just think Utah is the more established team, and I think Utah is going to be a major player in the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. Is Utah is coming in looking to compete for a playoff spot, and Florida's in a bit of disarray. The only reason I wouldn't say I'm overconfident in Utah, even though I think they'll get it done, just because it's in Florida. You got them coming from out west to the swamp, which is always a miserable shithole to play in. So, but they're still Utah, so I wouldn't be making any bets or anything. But I think they'll go ahead and take care of business. And I actually have Florida starting off 0-2. So
I think it's going to be a close game. Utah's got a good running attack, and I think Florida's defensive front is probably not enough to stop them.
You guys are high on Utah. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if you guys are being honest, but I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched a lot of Utah because they're on the West Coast, so I'm not all that familiar with them. I actually didn't watch them in the Rose Bowl, and so I'm just not that familiar with them. But obviously, I'm familiar with Florida, and I'm taking the team that's just it's in the SEC that keeps a fair amount of talent on the team. Even when they're down, they still have a lot of talent on the team. I think that the Swamp is a tough environment to play in. I know they're going through the coaching change. I know there's some issues in Florida. I know that. I don't expect them to have a very good season, but I can't pick Utah coming into that on game one without knowing a little more about them. Now I know Utah is getting a lot of love, but not for me, not yet. We'll see what they do.
I think the game being at Florida is what's going to make it closer than I think that home field advantage is significant, but not enough to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody know the line on that? I don't know what the line is.
2.5 points.
Utah. 2.5 Utah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so it's a close game. We'll see. It should, from what I understand, it should be a pretty physical game. I'm just not that. I'm going to go with the team that I'm more familiar with, that I trust a little more in the depth and the talent. Although, there's some projections that Florida's in for a long season, and I hope that's true. I hate Florida, so fingers crossed. All right. After Florida, Utah, we have Notre Dame going to Ohio State. Let's save that one for last. Let's go to Florida State, LSU. Florida State goes into LSU, should be a night game. I'm sure the time's announced. I haven't looked at it. We all picked LSU. Probably has something to do with the fact that Florida State's been really disappointing over the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've just been pretty mediocre at best. And I think LSU is very difficult environment to go into. I don't think LSU is going to be that good either. I don't think Brian Kelly does a whole lot there right away, or even in the long term. I don't think he's a very good coach, but I do think game one, new coach, probably a night game. I expect LSU to get it done over Florida State, which I think is pretty underwhelming for the most part of the last couple of years. What do you guys think?
It is a 7:30 p.m. game, and yeah, I mean, Florida State going to LSU and winning, I just can't see it. The story of LSU for the last 15 years has been a shitload of talent and terrible coaches, and I think they're going to continue that. So, yeah. Florida State's been reeling for a decade. I think LSU gets it done.
I agree with LSU. LSU's going to get it done. I mean, that's a hard. Their fans are pretty rowdy. I think Florida State doesn't have what it takes to go into LSU and win. LSU's strong.
I don't think LSU is strong, but I think they're strong enough to beat Florida State. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think LSU's that great either, but as you guys stated, Florida State has been bad for a few years now. And I think the environment is, one of the best in college sports. It is a real home field advantage. I think LSU wins the game. I don't think it's a blowout or anything, but I mean, they definitely win the game pretty easily, I would say.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's a blowout, and I don't think it's an easy win. I think it's a close game. I just don't think Florida State is very good, but I don't expect anything from LSU. I think that Brian Kelly is an awful coach. I think Zach is right. LSU has a nice tradition of having a lot of talent and really shitty coaches, and they seem committed to that. So
who was their last coach? What was his name?
Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, with the voice.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bad coach though, right?
They brought in Joe Burrow, won a national title, and then fucking fell off, and he was gone 2 years later.
Well, there was a lot more issues. They had off
the field issues. Yeah.
But big time off the field issues.
but their record plummeted after they lost that one class where they, went 15-0 or whatever.
Well, they built that team to win that season, and it worked, and whatever. That was a good team.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, the story I read about Ed Orgeron, so he was already having some issues. I don't remember what the issues in the media were, but I read an article that he was hitting on a woman at a gas station, and she ended up being the school president's wife.
What?
And it was like pretty forward comments he was making to her at the gas station.
We're gonna have to do a booth review on
Booth
that.
review. We got to booth review that. Listen, I read the article. Now, how reliable the article was, I have no idea. But basically, she was in like workout clothes, and he was saying shit like, she was saying she came from the gym, and he's like, well, how would you like another workout? That kind of shit. Go ahead, James.
We're gonna have to timestamp that to see if that's actually true. Because I heard that he just had a bunch of girlfriends and women like around the practice facilities and around the program. Because I think he got divorced or whatever recently, so he was just running a bunch of women in and out.
It sounds like it was both. I just googled an article real quick and skimmed it, and it says report Ed Orgeron hit on pregnant wife of LSU official. So
that makes me like Ed Orgeron more.
Yeah.
It makes you like him more?
Yeah.
Listen, Ed Orgeron is a piece of dog shit. And I thought that before these stories came out. I can't stand that motherfucker. Fuck him, Lane Kiffin, and all the rest of those motherfuckers.
What? Where did Lane Kiffin come from?
Orgeron was on his staff at Tennessee.
You're still bitter?
Am I still bitter? I'm not bitter. Just fuck him.
All right. Pack your golf balls in your mustard bottles.
I don't gotta pack mustard. I'll run up to the concession stand. I'll put some mustard on my hot dot. I'll carry it back to the front row and then zing that shit on the fucking field.
Zing that shit.
You mentioned like, I don't know where they found this mustard bottle. I was wondering why the hell did they bring a golf ball to the stadium? The mustard bottle you can find in all the condiments.
I know, but the thing with the mustard bottle, and I'm glad you brought it back up because that's some premeditated shit. Like when the call's bad and you have something that you just like, if you have your drink and you just throw it, I don't condone it. I would never do it. I think it's bullshit. But at least that's like the heat of the moment. Tennessee is a big ass stadium. You got plenty of time to second guess throwing the mustard bottle from the concession stand to the point that you can reach the field. You know what I mean? You got a long time to think about that shit. So I don't really understand it, but unless they threw it maybe from like the skybox where they didn't have to run anywhere, I don't really know. But the golf ball was an odd one too.
Well, I would say the golf ball is more straightforward than a mustard bottle, because I feel if you have a golf ball in your pocket and you're at a football game and it's the game that you're playing Lane Kiffin, it's premeditated. I think that golf ball was it served its purpose that day, I think.
So I agree with that statement, but to bring a golf ball period is weird.
No, I'm not.
Hold on a second.
Weird.
You think the ball was brought to the stadium with the intention of throwing it at Lane Kiffin before the game was over?
That's what Jamie said.
I do.
Okay. You guys are some fucking conspiracy theorists, man.
Can you booth review that? Can we get the golf ball thrower? Can we get a statement?
Is there a statement out there? I don't really know. But the thing is, like, you find golf balls all the time. Like this guy could have just found the golf ball, walked into the stadium, and just picked it up and put it in his pocket, or was just like throwing it around like people do, like with stress balls or whatever. You could have been doing that.
There's definitely some weirdos out there that have some crazy shit in their pockets, so I wouldn't be surprised. Or just some douchebag.
Yeah.
Wants to carry around a Titleist. Who the fuck knows?
Well, I don't think it was a Titleist. It looked like wasn't it like an off color, like a putt ball?
It was yellow. It was probably from like a driving range.
Yeah, so something like that. It is weird. I mean, I've never been hanging out somewhere like random and been like, "Hey, you got a golf ball?" And somebody says, "Yeah, well, I happen to have one on me." Like I've never seen that happen.
No.
So I don't really know how that goes down. But I mean, I'm glad the golf ball didn't hit Lane Kiffin because that could have hurt him. But the mustard bottle, I would have been fine with. Listen, I've been hit with a shitload of mustard and ketchup and all that at Ravens games. So we've been there.
Didn't you get hit with a bunch of hot dogs and then you also got kicked out?
I didn't get kicked out. They wanted to escort me out for my safety.
About that night.
That was some bullshit. We can do that when we do an NFL show. We'll talk about that Ravens game because those people were out of control. Yes, I have no idea. Number one, they were all pelting me with hot dogs, and number two, the hot dogs are like $10. Like, why do you buy a $10 hot dog to throw it at somebody? Fucking idiot. I mean, I went home and washed my jersey and then started rooting against the Ravens for the rest of my life. So whatever. All right, let's get back to the final game. Is Notre Dame at Ohio State. Me, Earl, and Zach have Ohio State, and Jamie, the Notre Dame fan.
You skip Clemson.
Oh shit, I skipped Clemson. Clemson's playing for Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech sucks. We all got Clemson. Now back to Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, we got it. We definitely had to get it in, but that's going to be a route, and it's not because Clemson is good. So Notre Dame, Ohio State. I think it's a no-brainer why we all have Ohio State. They're going to win the game. But Jamie, you picked Notre Dame. Do you have any reason other than you're a fan and you're praying every night that they pull off the upset? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm a fan, but I feel confident about the game. I think it's a game that we can win. I think we do have advantages in some areas, and then I think Ohio State has clear advantages in some areas. I just think that we're going to get Marcus Freeman off to a good start, and we're going to win one for the Gipper.
That's it?
That's it. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
I think you're going to get your ass whipped. That's what I have to say. I'll let these guys go first. I'll go last. Zach, what do you got? Or Earl?
I think it's 38-17 type of game. I think if Notre Dame does manage the upset, they're going to have to make it ugly and really like a 17-13, like in the trenches, slow game. Because Ohio State, I think, has the potential to put up at least 40. So, and the main reasons are the same as why I picked against Florida. The coach change and the quarterback change and all that shit. I think, being in Ohio State, it's a tough environment for any team in the country. I think even if, Alabama or Georgia, whoever went in, it would be a pick 'em to me. So Notre Dame with the changeover, I just don't think can get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ohio State can absolutely score enough to cover the 17.5 points. They have, I think, three, I'll call them Heisman Trophy candidates on Ohio State's team. You have their quarterback Stroud, their running back Travion Henderson, and the receiver Jackson Smith, Jajiba or whatever his name is. They're pretty good offensive players that are going to be at the top of each one of their standings: quarterback, running back, wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know about the Heisman stuff. I don't really care about that shit, but I do think that Ohio State has too much speed. I think my concern with Notre Dame is how they looked last year. And I know it's a different year, and I know it's a different coach, and I know they got some recruits in there. So I know it's a new season, but I was extremely disappointed with how they looked last year. And I don't think they can keep up with the speed of Ohio State. I don't have any faith in your coach until I see what he can do. We talked about this before. I was pretty unimpressed with the showing against Oklahoma State. I don't care that it was a bowl game. It was his first game. That's one I think you want to kick off with a good start as the new coach. So I was pretty disappointed with how that Oklahoma State game went, your bowl game last year. And I don't think you guys have the speed or the offensive ability to hang around too long with Ohio State. I don't know about the spread. And I've said this before, if Ohio State does beat that spread, I think you guys are in for a really, really long season, a really tough season. But I don't see any scenario where Notre Dame wins this game. I just don't. That's where I'm at with it.
And it's a good point you brought up too about their record last year. It was pretty deceptive. Like they did finish at number 5, or they released number 5 before the playoffs, but they really benefited from a weak schedule more, I think, than taking care of business. And they squeaked by some teams that they should have beat handily. And the only real games they played last year, they lost. So I think Notre Dame is a bit more of a question mark than their preseason ranking indicates.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I am looking forward to it. It should be a good game. I'm curious to see where both teams are at. And just for the record, I don't think Ohio State's going undefeated. So I'm tired of hearing about Ohio State and all their bullshit too. Every fucking year, it's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. Every fucking year. Then everybody's afraid to pick somebody new. I'm sick of it. And I knew the Big Ten is not that great, so Ohio State will probably do pretty well. But I don't think they go undefeated. Go ahead, bitches.
Let me say something real quick, Jamie. I'm going to root for Notre Dame. I just wanted you to know that.
Thanks, Earl.
Yeah, man.
But you picked Ohio State, so fuck you.
Yeah, I did.
I just want to ask. You said that you think that Ohio State is going to lose a game this year. You have them beating Notre Dame. Who do you have them losing to?
Penn State.
Okay.
Penn State isn't all what they're supposed to be this year.
Penn State, or Michigan. I do not think that Ohio State runs the table.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when I asked a question, I thought you were going to say Michigan. That's the obvious choice. And then you said Penn State, which, I mean, I don't know. Penn State could definitely beat Ohio State. We'll see.
No,
No,
I don't think so. Penn State cannot beat Ohio State.
they
No,
cannot.
I don't think so. Nope. Michigan, I think, has a chance for sure.
Why not Penn State?
I don't think Penn State's going to be very good this year. I mean, I think they're going to be a decent team, but I mean, they'll probably have four losses, maybe.
Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I was just going to say, Ohio State's weird because the game that they lose every year is like, what the hell are you doing? Because they pretty much outclass every opponent they play. Like, I'm looking at their schedule: Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Michigan are the three biggest ones, and then Penn State. And I don't think any of those teams have been recruiting anywhere near the level of Ohio State the last few years, or really the last like 15. But I wouldn't put any money on Michigan to get it done twice in a row. Harbaugh saved his job, and he'll go back to being how he is.
Plus, they lost their defensive coordinator. So, but I would give Michigan State the nod. Michigan the nod before I gave Penn State the nod of winning.
I think you guys. I mean, to say that you don't think that Penn State will beat them, okay, that's fine. Ohio State's going to be a favorite for sure going into that game. They're number 2 in the country. They're a preseason pick to be in the national title game. All this bullshit, like always, nothing new there. But that whiteout game that they do when they head into Penn State, I think is always a tricky game. It's always a big game. It's always a little closer than people think it's going to be. Just look at the schedule. I mean, Ohio State has Michigan State, Iowa, then Penn State. So not the simplest stretch. I don't think it's crazy. It's not like an SEC slate, but it's not the easiest stretch of games to go Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State. And then after that, it lightens up with Northwestern Indiana, Maryland before they finish up with Michigan. So they'll get plenty of rest before they play Michigan. But I think that in that 3-game stretch, I can definitely see them going into a Penn State environment that's going to be a little bit crazy, and I like Penn State to knock them off. So book that shit right now. I mean, we're still in week 0, and I'm picking that upset. But I like Penn State more than Notre Dame. I'm not a believer in Notre Dame, so we'll see what they do. But until they do something, what I saw last year and what I've seen from them the years past in big games, they just are not good in those situations.
Shit's different.
We'll see.
Shit's different.
Listen, you got only a few days from now to let us know, because this show comes out on Thursday. So you only got a few days before you can let us know if shit is really different, and if so, how different. I mean, listen, you might be one thing that you haven't thought about. I don't think Brian Kelly's a good coach. I think we all agree with that, but we might be wrong. I mean, this might be a situation where Brian Kelly goes to LSU. LSU has a 10-win season, and Notre Dame goes 500 or 8-4. So, you might be right. Shit might be different in the way that you're not thinking about. I don't think that's going to happen, but never know. Tennessee's gotten used to dealing with some really fucked up situations over the past 4 coaches in 15 years. So just heads up, things don't always go the way that you think when you do these coaching changes. But that's it for the picks. So 10 good games, 10 good picks. Should be some pretty good games in week 1. Now that once we get past week 0. What else you guys got? Anything else that you want to talk about for the upcoming weekend, or you all want to get into some famous college rants and talk about our favorite rants?
I wanted to know what you guys thought about the Arkansas-Cincinnati game. They're both in the top 25. Did you think about that game any? And I know Cincinnati, they lost a lot of players. Apparently they were Georgia and LSU had the most players selected in the NFL, and then after that was Cincinnati. So I don't know if they're going to be any good this year or not.
How did that game get left off of our picks?
Because I didn't put it on there. That's why.
Somebody dropped the ball. That's a good game. I think Cincinnati lost a ton of talent. They did have a lot of players get drafted, and I think Arkansas out physicals them and wins that game.
I'll go next. So I think Arkansas wins that game handily. I think Arkansas absolutely controls that game. And feel free to pick up the ball in week 2 and put these picks on the sheet.
Yeah, I think Arkansas is too much for them. Cincinnati lost a ton of people. They had a, well, not Cinderella type season because she got dumped at the ball, I guess. But, they played a couple real teams. They struggled with Notre Dame. Alabama beat their ass. I think, losing all that talent, Arkansas is just going to dominate the lines. I think it's going to be a boring game, but it's never going to be in question. I think Arkansas is going to be on like 24-3 type game.
Yeah, I think Arkansas is going to be on top. Losing a lot of players. I don't know how much how their recruiting goes of Cincinnati, but I reading articles and things like that, they still have some players on their team that they said can, grind out some yards and make it a close game, but we'll see.
I like Arkansas. I think Arkansas is up and coming, and I'll tell you, and to be completely honest, I think Arkansas would have beat them last year. So who Cincinnati has lost, for me, I could honestly care less. I just think they're undersized, and I think that the physicality is going to be too much, and I think Arkansas would have beat their team last year that went to the playoff, and I think that they'll absolutely control the game this year. That's where I'm at with it. So even though Cincinnati went to the playoff last year, that's all a result of the schedule. I mean, they beat Notre Dame, and that was their claim to fame. Notre Dame was really bad. Toledo almost beat Notre Dame last year. So I'm not picking on them or shitting on them. Notre Dame just really wasn't very good last year. So for Cincinnati to ride that into the playoff is a joke. That's just my 2 cents. Anything else on week 1? It should be a lot of fun, a lot of good games going for the Labor Day weekend. So we've got a little while left here, maybe 20 minutes or so. Let's talk about some of the most famous college football rants. It doesn't have to be college football, it could be NFL, but one of your favorite coaching rants of all time. Who wants to go first? There's some good ones out there.
I brought it up, so I guess I'll start. That got to be a dog one from the Coastal Carolina coaches. One of my favorite ones. It's just such a redneck rant, and it makes no sense.
You didn't think it made sense?
I know what he's trying to say, but the way that he was saying it made no fucking sense.
I thought it
the whole. I got my extra bands on. Do I look good? We don't need no rams.
I thought it made total sense, and I thought it was probably very necessary, and it probably sent the message that he was trying to send.
Oh man, I agree with Zach. The whole thing about and have cats running here and cats running there, and look in the mirror. I mean, come on. Me more dogs. We need dogs.
He does the.
Earl, was that your impersonation? That's the worst impersonation ever. The cat's running here and the cat's running there. And
watch the show, man. That's what he did. That's exactly what he did.
He's talking about the dog.
One cat.
He's talking about the dog. He's got Bo won't shut up out there. I gotta get Bo out there. It's total like redneck mode. I'm sure he was pissed, but yeah, that's just
I don't
funny.
give a fuck. That's one of my favorite rants. I thought it was great, and I thought it made perfect sense. Yeah, that was a good one. Jamie, what's yours?
I mean, the one that instantly came to my mind was the Be a Dog, the one that we just talked about. That's got to be the best one. That guy was completely crazy. And I wonder if he's like, where's he coaching at now? Or did he get canceled for that? So maybe we figure out where that guy's at now. But the other one I think of is the guy from the Colts. Who
Jim
was
Mora.
Jim Mora, where they asked him about the playoffs, and he goes, playoffs. And I think he also says diddly poo in the interview. So yeah, he definitely, that's another one. And then obviously Dennis Green. Is that his name? Dennis Green,
Yeah.
coaching the
Yeah.
Vikings.
Oh yeah.
Where he shoves the podium and he's like,
that's who we thought they were.
they are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
Look.
To me, that was the most reasonable, even though it was funny.
Oh, the other one is Gundy from OK State.
Yeah.
I'm a man, I'm 40. Not that it was funny. It was super weird. And
It was cringy. If you watch the whole thing, it's like 4 minutes long.
It's so bad. It doesn't make any sense.
I didn't see
And
that.
but people say that line all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a man, I'm 40.
It was cringy as fuck, and he's a fucking asshole too.
Yeah.
I can give a fuck about Gundy.
It's a
What do
great
you got?
soundbite, though.
And, well, the other great sound bite is practice. Practice. I mean, come on, that was a good one. I mean, I was a player, wasn't a coach. I know, but that was it. That was a good one.
That was a good rant too. I like the Iverson rant. I can't even really think of any more. I know Herm Edwards had a good one.
Herm
Where,
Edwards.
we're there to win the game. Hello.
What do you expect? That's what you do. You try to go to win the game.
That was with the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty good one. There's been some good ones over the year. Dicka had some good ones. Mike Singletary had a good one. Can't win with him. Can't do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a good rant, man, from a coach. Just watching them lose their shit right there on the camera is fucking great.
The one that you guys probably don't know as much as the one that was a coach for Kansas City Royals, Hal McRae. Oh my gosh, that one's fun to watch. He was pissed.
Nope, don't remember that.
There's a lot of cussing in it. I mean, you can't.
Nah, I don't remember that one. Mike Tyson had some pretty good meltdowns too. When he was talking about Lennox Lewis and eating his heart and eating his kids. And then Lennox Lewis had a good comeback when he said the first thing, you got to use my right, my left. And then Lennox Lewis beat his ass. That was a good interview. You guys remember that?
I mean, I've heard the quote. I don't remember the rant though.
Oh, Tyson went crazy. He was like, I want to eat his fucking heart. I want to eat his kids. And then Lennox Lewis was calm as can be. He said the first thing he's going to eat is my right and my left. And
Jim Mora,
Huh?
Jim Mora had another good one too, where he was like,
We
the
sucked.
offense sucked, the defense sucked, we couldn't move the ball. That might have been the diddly poo one, actually. I can't remember.
Diddly poo's a pretty funny one.
Yeah. Anytime you can throw diddly poo in there, you've had a good interview. All right, so that's it. That was pretty quick on the coaching rant. It's hard to spend a lot of time on it because we're not doing sound bites. But what else you guys got? Anything you all want to discuss before we hit week one? I don't think there's a whole lot more going on. Week 0 was anticlimactic. We've already previewed week 1. You guys got anything else that you want to go through?
I'm good.
Everybody good? All right. So short episode to get ready for week 1. I think everybody's just kind of waiting for the kickoff of the real games, which will start with Tennessee and Ball State at 7:00 on Thursday.
Go Balls.
Go Balls. That's right. And we will wrap up with some Rocky Top. All right. See ya.
See ya.